Joining us now is the Chief of Police in Keego Harbor, John Fitzgerald. Chief Fitzgerald, thank you very much for joining us today.
Morning, Dave. Morning, Tyler.
Oh, good to have you. Let's talk about the storm real quick. Much damage in Keego last night in your surrounding area?
I haven't had a lot of reports of it to me. Been busy prepping for another situation, so not a lot has come in about the any storm damage for us.
All right. Thank you for the update. We appreciate it. So we've seen some protests in communities, clearly, in our backyard. Have you had anything going on in your community or anything that you're aware of that might be coming up?
Yes, we have a protest coming to Keego Harbor tomorrow, Friday. It's going to start about 4 o'clock in the afternoon. We've been in contact with the organizers, met with them. Looks like it's hopefully going to be like most of the rest of the ones we've had in the area, a peaceful protest, people exercising their First Amendment rights to get their message out there. They're going to start at the Keego Harbor City Hall. The plan is to walk up to Orchard Lake Road, go up Orchard Lake Road into Sylvan Lake, cross over at the traffic light, walk all the way back down to Commerce Road in Orchard Lake, and then cross over and come back to the Civic Center. It's supposed to stay on the sidewalk so traffic can flow. That's going to be rush hour when that happens. The organizers have captains for their walkers so they keep them on the sidewalk. And we're looking forward to a peaceful protest of people exercising their rights.
Yeah, I'm sure it will be Friday afternoon in your backyard, right along those roads. People heading home after work, and people heading out to some of the area restaurants now, and maybe heading out to the lakes for a little early weekend enjoyment. It's always a busy time, so you take all that and you get all those people right together at that very busy time of day, and I'm sure you're going to have your hands full. Have you talked to other police departments around the area that have already managed a protest in their community, just for any input?
Yeah, we have. We've been getting information how they went and how they handled the things, and we're trying to mirror what has worked at the other places. We're working in conjunction with Sylvan Lake, Orchard Lake, West Bloomfield. We're all trying to work on this together. A big note to everybody that might be thinking about coming down to the protest here. Keego Harbor has very limited parking. Carpool if you come down here. There's no parking on the streets at any time. And that's just the way the city ordinance has been. There's no parking on the street. And think about the businesses. A lot of our restaurants, this is going to be their first Friday night opening in months. They're trying to come back from a rough spot with not having their restaurants running. It's their first Friday night opening. They might not appreciate non-customers taking up the parking spots. The organizers have said they will be out. They've talked to different businesses where you can park, and they're going to be posting signs at those businesses that have allowed parking. But like I said, there's limited parking. So if you're coming, please carpool and park in a legal parking spot. I don't want you looking over from the protest and seeing your car being towed away by a tow truck, because most of the private lots around here and the businesses have towing, and they can have your car towed immediately out of their lot if you're not a customer.
All right. Well, and I know you're doing this in a friendly way to help people come to your community in a safe way and not leave with a bad result. I know you're not in any way discouraging people from coming to Keego Harbor because we've had many conversations, and that's just not the way Keego Harbor is. I just want to emphasize that to people. Am I safe in saying what I just said?
Oh, absolutely. And monitoring some of the stuff that's on social media, I hear Keego Harbor residents going, good for you guys. The younger generation is going to make changes happen. We want to be at the march. And then we got a lot of people say, I'd like to be at the protest, but I'm too old to do that. I'm too old to walk. But they're trying to support them. Give them that mental support and so it looks like a large percentage are behind a peaceful protest by everybody, and so are we, because that's what this country's made up of is peaceful protest for change, and we're behind what they need to do.
It's been so inspiring, Chief Fitzgerald, to go to many of these other protests. And, the folks in the Troy Police Department got everybody off to a good start. It was one of the first suburban protests in Metro Detroit, handled well. At that point, there was a lot of negativity surrounding many of these protests, and the Troy Police Department did an amazing job. And then from there on, many of these other protests have gone really, really well. But as you indicated a moment or two ago, predominantly young people attending, and it's been remarkable to me. They've all handled themselves so well, expressing their concerns, making their point, but doing it in a really positive way. And I only hope for and expect we'll see the same thing on Friday in Keego.
Well, I think that's how you get your message out the best is you present it in a positive manner and people open their minds up to listen to you. If you present a negative manner, if you present a violent manner, people on the other side are going to close their minds right away and say, that's not a good message and we want nothing to do with it. You bring a positive message, present it in a peaceful way, and you change minds that way.
You run a very small department. I'm sure the last thing that you trying to manage your department and your budget want to see is budgets reduced for police departments in Oakland County. But I know there's a lot of talk about finding a new way to police. Do you think there can be some changes as a result of what's happened here, even in departments like yours where there's been no history of problems? Are there things that we can do better?
I'm sure there's always something we can do better, and we're looking for ideas that can come up. Is there a way we can get uh, domestic violence people into a social work system more than a criminal justice system? I mean, that's for problems that before they get physically violent. Once you get physically violent, that's a criminal problem, and it's not a safe situation for somebody that's not probably a police officer to walk into. But is there a way we can get social workers into that kind of thing? It's something to be looking at, and there's a need for funding for a lot of different things in society. I'm still going to say we need the funding for law enforcement though, because it's always going to be out there. Do we just stop enforcing laws and turn our head at speeding traffic down Orchard Lake Road? We have citizens complaining about that all the time. That's a minor crime, and people think we're oppressing people by enforcing that. We're not. It's the request of the citizens to keep their community safe, and that's why we're here. So we still need our funding. We just have to look for some alternate things and some alternate funding to bring in other solutions.
Your police officers, along with police officers in every community in our country, have to deal with so much, though. Many things that go well beyond just, taking care of criminal matters. It seems that when anybody is having any societal problem, they'll dial 911, and the first person to show up is somebody in blue with a badge. And that's got to be a challenge for your department and every department around the country.
It is. We get sent to because you dial 911 and we show up and we get sent to many things that really are not criminal justice matters. They're not police matters. We do our best and we use ongoing training. That an officer doesn't get trained in the academy and then stop having training. We try and find the best, latest training for de-escalation, for dealing with citizens, for there's numerous things out there, and we try to get our guys out there to keep trained. And we realize when we go into certain situations that this is not something as a law enforcement officer we can solve here. Let's try and refer them off in the right direction. Let's get them to understand that no, we can't do something. It's not that we don't want to do something. It's no, we legally can't do something, or there's nothing for us to do there. So, and we're working on making sure our officers are trained to know the difference. And I think they are. We have a great bunch of guys here that I'm proud to work with at Keego.
He is the chief of police in Keego Harbor, John Fitzgerald, joining us. So, as you mentioned, the restaurants are opening again, and the clubs are opening again. The bars, if you will, are opening again. Many establishments now are considering expanding the area they have outside, and a number of establishments in your jurisdiction already have some outdoor seating. Do you think as we give these restaurants an opportunity to social distance that we can expand that a little bit as they're working on in Lansing and many of our municipalities and do so in a safe way that won't create any harm to the community?
Our city council's addressing that issue right now. I think it's coming up at our next city council meeting. The police department is definitely not opposed to it. We just want to make sure. I mean, we want to see the restaurants get back. We all love going to them too, and we want to see them succeed. We got some great restaurants in town, and if it takes expanding their outdoor patios to where they can do it safely, we're all for it. The only thing we want to worry about is not letting people take a drink out to their car and walk away. It's a liquor law. They can't violate anyhow. So we got to be careful with that. But expanding it so they can succeed, we're all for it.
Yeah, as long as we don't take up 2 lanes of Orchard Lake Road for seating in front of the lodge, I think we'll be we'll probably be just fine. All right, Chief. Anything else you want to add before we say so long?
Hey, I look forward to seeing a lot of people tomorrow at the protest. I'm gonna be out there and try to meet some people. I've met the organizers already. They seem like a great bunch of they're college students. Had meetings and talked with them, and I look forward to seeing people and hearing their points of view out there. We're not totally closed-minded in this whole thing. We're all in this together, and we want to come through peaceful in this.
Well, and it's been remarkable to see what's been happening and the depth of commitment from the organizers of these protests, and then the people to show up. You know, I've been around the state of Michigan a little bit over the past month, and I go to northern Michigan on the weekends, and even in these small communities in northern Michigan, there have been significant protests. So every community is touched by this, and kudos to those people that are out exercising their right to free speech and doing it in a beautiful way. And I think it's created a lot of really nice opportunities for law enforcement to be able to have some direct dialogue with people at the same time. So it's there's been an awful lot of good. There's been some challenges, but an awful lot of good. We look to more of that good happening on Friday in Keego, and glad to hear you're going to be out mingling with the folks on Friday.
I will be. I'll be out there, Dave.
All right. Thank you, Chief. Appreciate your time today.
All right. Have a great weekend, Dave.
Very good. He is the chief of the Keego Harbor Police Department, John Fitzgerald, and we appreciate him being with us today.